Hey, what's up, y'all? It's me, Robert Prash, King Comebacks with 2Ks at the end, Creating Greatness podcast. I'm coming to you live from my bathroom. There was very limited light due to the storm today, and I don't have any fancy lights, headphones, or microphones, any of that. I come to you because I have really no other choice. I talked about it last week with Cam, how when I fixed my life, and it's still a work in progress. It's not fixed. It's continual work, and that's something that we all need to acknowledge is that the work never stops. But as I became happier, more physically fit, having a little more energy, a little happiness, energy, those things are important to me. And I would go back out into the world because I was now a productive member of society. I could hold down a job. I could I had my own car. I had a little money in the bank. I would see people hurting. I would see people struggling. I would see people sad, upset, taking part in all sorts of nonsense to distract themselves from the day to day, taking all sorts of substances just to get them through the day, because that was where they were at. I've been there. Shit. I still feel like that some mornings, man. You know? And I could vividly remember what it's like to wake up and not want to go on, not want to drag yourself through another day of a miserable existence. And I'm not saying everybody's plate is that uh, down in the dumps like I was, but that's the place where I come from. And then seeing what I was seeing when I went back out into the world, I thought, man, they must not know. They must not know that it's there and it's free and it's for us to just tap in and become part of the one that is us all, the universal energy that creates all things, God, each other, connection. And tapping into that and adding some simple practices, very simple, was the thing that drove me to be here speaking to you now in my bathroom with no mic and no headphones and nothing fancy and barely a following. But it is my deepest desire within my heart to spread kindness, to spread love, to spread compassion, to spread self improvement, because that's what made me who I am. It's like a gift that I have, and I believe that it's our job to give our gift and give it freely. I'm not asking for compensation from anyone listening. I have no agenda other than to see other people do better so that we can collectively do better as a whole. So I had this joke I wanted to start the show with, but I kind of ruined it because I went off on that whole spiel. And I was going to say, hey, me and Cam got really deep last week. So today I'm going to keep it light. Maybe we'll talk about the 4th of July or fireworks or sports or TV and all that jazz. And then I was going to go, I'm just kidding. We're going to talk about God and meditation. Now, I realize I ruined the joke. I realize it probably was never funny to begin with, but here we are, talking about God and meditation. So I want to start the show with talking about meditation and God and Isha Kriya. If any of you follow me avidly, you know that I'm a big participator in Isha Volunteer. I'm an avid follower of Sadhguru. Taking his class, Inner Engineering, and reading his books have really helped change my life. One of the ones that really helped me was Death, a book for all those who will die. Really helped me wrap my head around death, accept death, understand that it's all part of life. Come to my belief that death is not the end, yet it's a beginning of something new. And I believe that the fear of death is a big problem in the world. And I think that it creates a lot of the bad things that happen, people's fear of death, people not want to accept their own mortality, or you have others that want to live forever, and that creates its own sort of problem. So, want to talk about that. But so the Isha Kriya meditation coincides with this. It's a big one I've done for years. I came to a point a few months ago where I thought to myself, maybe I used it all up. Maybe I've taken this Isha Kriya meditation as far as it could possibly go. And maybe it's time to move on to something else. I wasn't feeling that I was getting the benefits from it, not regular benefits. I wanted something more. I wanted a deeper meditation, a more, a bigger spiritual experience. And so I drifted on through the world of the internet, trying to find a new meditation, never really finding one that I liked. So what ended up happening was that I began meditating a lot less. And it reminds me of a quote that's circling around the internet. You never know how exactly these things are working, or who exactly said these things, but they claimed it to be a quote from the Buddha. And or a quote, someone asking a question to the Buddha. What have you gained from meditation? And I'm paraphrasing here. The response was, I haven't gained anything, but I've lost anxiety and depression and this and that. And I like that answer, but I like it all the more now that I've realized the truth of that statement, no matter who said it. Over the course of those few months that I did not practice my Isha Kriya meditation, I experienced very negative thoughts. I experienced disturbed sleep. I experienced anger much more often, a shorter fuse, if you will, less tolerance for myself and other human beings. And those things may seem minor, but to a person like myself, where anger is a huge problem, anxiety and depression to a lesser extent, but still there. And then when these things start increasing in me, when these negative emotions start welling up in me, then other demons, very ugly demons, start to rear their head and pop out of nowhere. Finally, I came to the understanding one day, thinking, what is happening? You made all of this progress. Why are these old defeated? You think they're defeated. But what's that the thing they say in NA? They're over there doing push-ups. They're waiting. They're waiting for that crack, you know? And I talk about that like the devil, you know? I talk about the devil like I talk about God as an energy, an infectious negative energy that can seep in any chink in the armor, any crack that you leave yourself open. And that's what I had done. I left myself open to that negative energy by not practicing my meditation. And it took me a few months to realize. I go, let's connect the dots, because that's another success tool. I mean, for me, and I believe for anybody, self-knowledge is one of the highest forms of knowledge, because once you learn about yourself, and I've said this multiple times, so if you heard it, please hear me out. It's going to be a good show. When you get to know yourself, then you know how to maneuver around yourself, you know, to get away from the things that you don't like about yourself. You know, I always make this example, like if I know I'm going to buy alcohol, or if I know I'm going to drink alcohol, why would I buy it and have it in my house? If I know I'm going to eat sugary snacks, if I buy them, why am I going to buy it and put it in my house? I'm setting the playing field, so to speak. I'm picking the battleground. I'm not going to intentionally put something that's detrimental to my well-being in my path. Now, when I come across it in the world, I have to cultivate that power and discipline to avoid those things. But why would you set it in the field of play? It doesn't make any sense. Now, that's just one of the small examples of how maneuvering around yourself and self-knowledge really can help you level up your life. But also this connecting of the dots. When you feel a certain way, when something in your life bad happens, when you don't feel good, when you're upset, when your body hurts, when your stomach's not well, it's super beneficial to figure out why. Connect the dots. What did I do differently? What have I been doing? And on the same or the flip side of that token, when you're in a good mood, when your body feels great, when you're happy, when you're motivated, okay, what have I been doing to lead to this feeling? And connecting those dots can help you feel that feeling more often and feel the negative ones less often. So that's what I was doing, just doing that self-analysis, that self-reflection, a very important practice for us all to do. I believe the best time to do it is right before bed. I think that going over your day, understanding where you won and where you lost in what you're trying to do in your life, so that your subconscious is picking up, hey, I don't like that about myself. I don't like that about myself. But you did do this, that, and the third that were great. And then setting the intention for who you want to be and what you want to accomplish the next day. Because you're about to take a deep dive into your subconscious while you sleep. And setting that programming is important. Doing this self-reflection, doing this analysis, I realized, bang, it seems so simple, but sometimes it takes that deep thought to reach the most simplest of answers. And let me tell you, my friends, the simplest of answers are always the best ones, man. And most of the biggest level ups that I've ever found in my life smacked me right in the face, hit me like a ton of bricks, and it was the simplest thing in the world. And I couldn't believe that it took me that long to come to those realizations. But that's not the important part. The important part is that I came to those realizations, tweaked some things in my life, and figured those things out. So it just hit me like a ton of bricks once again. Boom. You know, I've been doing Yesha Kriya meditation or meditating in general, because like I said, through my sort of searching for a deeper meditation, I did not find one, and ended up meditating a lot less. You know, I meditate morning and night. And if I have time midday, which is great, but I'm guilty of skipping that one often. But the morning and night, I'm very, very diligent with, except for those few months I'm speaking about. And so now I've been on it again. I've been on the Yesha Kriya meditation. And it has been a pleasant last, like, let's say 30 days that I've been back on it. And it reminds me of something that I read once again on the internet. So take it for what it's worth. One of the gurus, the Indian mystics that I follow, because I follow certain pages that will just have a lot of them. And my apologies, certainly no disrespect, a lot of their names I cannot pronounce. So one of those pages had a guru that said, if you don't want to meditate, or if, I'm paraphrasing, if you're being too lazy to meditate or you don't want to meditate, then you're denying God, because meditation is one of the easiest ways to connect with God, or once again, the universal energy that creates all things, or whatever your perspective of God is. And that hit me deep as well, because I have those feelings, man. I have those feelings of like, oh, I got to meditate. And then I have that infernal voice in the back of my head saying, I don't feel like it. Well, like Andrew Tate says, and like a lot of other men and women and leaders speak from leadership, if I only did things when I wanted to do them, I'd never do nothing. If I only chased greatness or tried to create greatness when I was motivated, then I would not do it very often. But that's where discipline kicks in, where you go, no, I'm going to do this. And it's just like another one, Tony Robbins. He says, every morning I get in a cold bath. Not a effing morning do I want to get in that cold bath. But I run me, the spirit, not the brain, not the body, not the voice in the back of the head. When I say I'm going to do something, I do it, and that's that. That's why I say it's so important to put that non-negotiable phrase in your vocabulary in the internal dialogue that you have. I'm going to meditate in the morning. Once again, back to the night. You lay in your head. Who do I want to be tomorrow? What do I want to create? What do I want to do? What do I want to accomplish? I'm going to meditate. I'm going to do the cold shower. I'm going to work out. And that shit's non-negotiable. And once I set that non-negotiable, that phrase in my head, there's no way I'm not doing it. Now, a lot of times I let myself off the hook. I go, let's see how I feel, or let's see how the day goes. And that's me shirking responsibility, because I'm not perfect. but most days, and especially when I see some sort of degradation in the body, the mind, the thoughts, the emotions, I say, now it's non-negotiable because you're playing with fire. And what's playing with fire? You know, what's playing with fire to you? Playing with fire to me is destruction of my whole life. Because if I allow my thoughts, my energy, my body, my brain, my emotions to degrade, I'll set my whole world on fire, man. And I'll bring everybody down with me. And it's something that I refuse to do. Our job as leaders, once again, not men, not women, leaders. Our job as leaders is to uplift those around us. It's something that I take very seriously, to encourage and nurture and protect those around me. And if I'm setting my world on fire, guess whose else's world burns to the ground? Everyone that surrounds me. And it's something that I will no longer tolerate in my life. And it's something that I think as addicts, I don't identify as anything, especially not an addict, but as a former one. And an excuse that you would use, whether you're out late at night, drinking, drugging, promiscuous behavior, eating, overeating to the point where you're very unhealthy, being lazy, whatever it is. The biggest lie you can tell yourself is, I'm not hurting anyone but myself, so leave me alone. Oh man, I use that one day in and day out. Whenever someone would get on my case about my behavior, I would go, I'm not hurting anyone but myself, so leave me alone. The biggest lie you can ever tell yourself, so stop telling yourself that you're only hurting yourself. You're not only hurting you, you're hurting everyone that loves you. You're hurting everyone that surrounds you. You're dragging everyone down and bringing everyone down when you could be uplifting them and encouraging them and brightening up their life and being a beacon of light and hope in the dark world. So don't lie to yourself and don't lie to anybody else with that one anyway, because I just debunked it. So moving on with the meditation and the spiritual experience, I had some thoughts that I would like to share. And one was, as I was thinking about the Buddha and Sadhguru and Gandhi and Jesus and all these characters in the world that have accomplished great things through human effort, I think that's an important one. These men were not gods. They were human beings who became godlike through human effort. We have that potential. We have that ability. We can all become godlike through our own personal efforts. And I think of this personal effort, and I think of the stories that I have heard throughout time. Oh, well, he sat down and meditated and he said, I'm not going to move until enlightenment comes. And you hear stories of yogis meditating for days on end, not using the bathroom, not moving, not eating, demanding a spiritual experience from the universe, from God. And you never know the they receive. You hear stories. So I thought, you stopped doing your meditation because you weren't experiencing this, whatever it may be, because who's to know? Each one's probably unique. Everybody's different. But something, can I demand it? Would I even have the willpower? Not days, but I'm going to sit here. I'm going to meditate for an hour. I'm going to meditate for an hour. I'm going to do it no matter what, no matter how uncomfortable I get and all these things. And I can't make it an hour. So I can make it about 30 minutes, maybe a little longer. But I did that. I said, I want something more. I demanded it as an experiment. Experimentation is a huge part of leveling up your life. Experimenting with diet, experimenting with physical fitness routines, experimenting with things within your relationships. And I don't mean sexually, although, hey, to each his own. I just mean using different language, eating different foods, trying different routines, these things, trying different things to see what works best. Once again, connecting the dots in our lives. So I'm playing around, I'm experimenting with it. I'm demanding, I want something more. I want something deeper. And I cannot articulate the experience that I had, but I'll be damned if I didn't have something different happen to me. I sat longer. I sat stiller. I demanded some sort of confirmation of the existence of God or the universal powers that be, universal energy that creates all things, the intelligent energy. And something different happened, man. Something different happened. And I was speaking to my neighbor, Miss Rhonda, God bless, bringing me the delicious mangoes off her tree. And I said, I know God is real. Because things have happened to me during prayer and meditation that are beyond the physical realm. And I don't understand it. But I don't have to. I think it's something that plagues us human beings. That's right, human beings. We want to understand everything. We want to know why. And that can lead you down some dark rabbit holes, man. Me and my wife, we used to deal with some toxic family members when we lived in New Jersey. And we're trying to deal with them. They're family, right? They're blood. We're trying to keep them in our lives, keep them in the lives of our children. And then they would do things. And we would just go, why? And we would spend not hours, but half hours, 45 minutes driving the car. Why are they doing this? Why are they like this? And this is just one example. And another one was the understanding of God. And I finally came to the realization and told my wife, we're going to drive ourselves crazy trying to understand a psychopath or a narcissist or a toxic individual. And in that line of thought, we may become, a little bit crazy and toxic ourselves because we're going over this millions of times trying to rationalize what just happened. And it's just another connecting of the dots, learning when to let things go. I don't have to understand God. What I do know is he, she, it, the energy is real. I don't have to understand a toxic person when they do toxic things to me. I know this, you're cut off. I'm not dealing with you. I'm not allowing negativity to spread and infect me and my family, no matter who you are or who you're related to. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in keeping people around because I've known them forever or their family, their blood. No. Do you have my best wishes at heart? Do you have good intentions towards me? Do you want what's best for me? Because I in turn will return those feelings. But if you don't, for me and my family, if you don't have our best intentions at heart, then I will never deal with you. But if you do, I will return those best wishes tenfold. That's the type of person that I am. That's the type of person that I strive to be. It's the type of person that I encourage y'all to be. If they're toxic, if they're hurting your peace, cut them off. If they're bringing love, joy, peace into your happiness, return it tenfold. And that's how we build the circle that I'm going to be talking about later. Part of the sadness that I was feeling, part of the reason that I wasn't meditating a lot or having a feeling of discontent, something was missing in my life. Another realization that I come to, another connecting of the dots so that I can forge a better life for myself, was that I was missing human interaction. I raise my children. I go out into the world sometimes, but I'm here. And my life seems at times to be very isolated. And I realized that we as humans, we need that interaction. You know, after I've been away for so long in isolation, sometimes when I go out, I experience anxiety of dealing with folks. And as articulate as I try to become, as I'm working on this craft, I can catch myself stuttering and stumbling in the most basic of conversations, just with a cashier or someone, in a store that I'm speaking to, or someone that asks me a question that I'm not expecting. And I think, wow, man, you know, you need more human interaction. And part of the discontent that I was feeling was because I want to get back in the game on some level. Anybody that has any ideas for me, please hit me up, creatinggreatestpodcast@gmail. King of Comebacks with 2Ks at the end, as it's right there on your screen on all social media outlets. I miss playing the game. My old job, it was working my way up the rungs of the ladder, getting promoted, getting raises. It was all a game, creating allies within the company, sending certain emails worded certain ways and working certain ways and making connects with the delivery drivers and all these things. It was just networking. It was just playing this game where people valued your skills and people valued your insights. People valued your work ethic, and you lifted yourself in that way. And here, other than the podcast world, which seems to be a very difficult world to really dive into, especially when you're spreading a positive message. The algorithms do not take kindly to this sort of content. I don't get to play that game, man, where I'm testing my skills against other individuals, and it's all about that competition and how that's healthy. I don't mean competition and like looking at social media or just even looking at your friend at church or in a social gathering and saying, oh man, they're doing good. I'm comparing myself to them, and now I'm competing with them in that way. No, that's the unhealthy side of it, in my opinion. The healthy side is like looking at guys like Dave Goggins, looking at guys like Michael Jordan, looking at guys like Kobe Bryant, people that reach the top level of their chosen profession. And having something to aspire to, and then you get in the game and you're competing with others. And because of that competition, you're doing better. You're doing better than you would have. It's scientifically proven. Like when you're in the gym, and I don't care what you're saying. I don't care where you're hearing me right now. And certain people are viewing you. You go a little harder. It's that competition aspect that makes you do more reps. It's the competition aspect that makes you work out harder. I notice it when I go to the gym or when I work out in my garage. So in the world of business or any sort of career or pursuit, it's that competition that makes us better. That's why I'm a big I don't know what the word I would say. I'm a down talker of trophies given out for participation. How are we supposed to level up? How are we supposed to get better? How are we supposed to see where we stand so that we can even make the connections to get better if we're celebrated for being mediocre? No, I want to excel. I want to get better. I want to be great. I want to be valued for my insight. I want to be valued for my creativity. I want to be valued for my talent. I want to be valued for my work ethic, man. And if I'm getting rewarded for being mediocre, then what is my reason to aspire for anything greater? And that's what I think we need to facilitate in our lives, along with facilitating difficulties. Facilitate difficulties in your life. Work out hard. Get out in harsh elements. Get in the cold water. Work out till failure. Because we don't live difficult lives, but difficulties will certainly come. And if we train for them, we will do better. And that healthy competition is another important part of life because it makes us do better. And it is a balance because it's not viewing the next man or next woman or next leader, because we're focusing on leadership, with jealousy or envy or hate. It's like, hey man, how can I do mine differently? How can I do mine like that? How can I reach that level and beyond? And because you're seeing this greatness, you can achieve greatness. You can aspire towards greatness. But if everyone's here, everyone's great, everyone's doing wonderful, it's going, okay, I guess I'm doing all right then. It's not the case. It's one of the many tools that are implemented to suppress our genius, to suppress our greatness of the average human. And I will no longer abide by those rules. I'm stepping outside the matrix. I'm creating my own free space. I'm thinking differently. I'm thinking outside the box. I'm behaving differently. I believe most people think I'm crazy. And that's okay, because when people start calling me crazy, what do I say? I know that I'm on the right path. You know, we need more free thinkers. We need more people behaving differently than society's norms. We need people thinking outside the box and creating new ideas and coming up with, all new stuff. Not saying that the old ways are not okay, way old. But over the course of this last 50 to 100 years, we've gotten very lost. So it's time to bring it back. And the way to bring it back is through that uniqueness. It's through that individuality. The way that you find that uniqueness, the way that you find that individuality, is by getting in tune with yourself. How do you get in tune with yourself? Get outside, get the sunlight, get your bare feet in the ground, meditate, pray, do yoga, detach yourself from all the distractions, even if it's for a little bit, even if it's for 5 minutes a day. You by yourself in silence, whatever you choose to do. Pray, meditate, sit, think. No phones, no electronics, just you, your breath, and your thoughts. 5 minutes. It'll change your life. So we will talk about a little bit of TV. I've been watching this show, The Godfather of Harlem. It's about Bumpy Johnson and Malcolm X, their friendship and, their relationships with the Italian mafia back in those days, and in New York and Harlem specifically. And Malcolm, now this is a dramatization, and I realize that a lot of events within it are fictionalized, but that's neither here nor there for the point that I'm trying to make. Malcolm is continually asked or put in situations where he has to explain his friendship with Bumpy Johnson, the gangster that preceded Nicky Barnes in Harlem. And he says that Bumpy and people like that have created that power in the negative world, that if they make the transition into the light, that they will become some of the most powerful players. And the power of transformation hits me hard there. And he has faith in his friend Bumpy, that he will make that transition, that at the core of who he is, there is goodness. And I believe that of all human beings, man. I believe no matter who you are and what you're doing or what foul nonsense you're involved in, I believe that there's a spark of good within. And we just need to nurture it more and more. And the reason for this, that it's so important, is because those of us that have seen the dark side of life, when we come to the light, we can become some of the most powerful champions of the light. If I am a champion of the light, then I'm in the fight. And the fight is here. Good and evil, you see it every day. Choose your side. It doesn't have to be radical. Definitely doesn't have to be violent. In fact, that's counterproductive. It starts within. And then it radiates beyond into families and communities and strengthens the bonds that unify. And in unity, there's strength. But it's not an outlandish concept. Carl Jung talks about it. It's one of my favorite quotes. I mean, I can't quote it because it's like a paragraph long, but he's saying, the person that's been to the darkest depths of their soul can only truly obtain the dragon's hoard, Another quote that I speak frequently, and I'm paraphrasing here, is a tree's branches cannot reach heaven if their roots are not grounded in hell. And this and the statements that I was making about Bumpy Johnson and Malcolm X, it all correlates to that. When we look inside, we see the darkness. We see the things that we don't like about ourselves. We acknowledge the behaviors that we don't like. And we begin to work our way out of it and get to the light. We start nurturing that spark of divinity that is within us. We start feeding the light and we become better. And then we help others do the same. That is part of how we can become some of the most powerful champions of light. And I say this to say it doesn't matter where you're at. Once again, it doesn't matter what dark deeds that you've done. It doesn't matter the negative thoughts that you harbor. What matters is your acknowledgement of that good that is in you, no matter how deep, and seeking ways to bring it out. Because once you bring it out, you can become one of the most powerful warriors of the light that we have. Make it as good as you can, man. Make it as good as you can. Now, this is just an expansion of a topic that I was talking about last week, where I was talking about where you can take a thing, anything. I was talking about life, but I do a lot with things in my yard, certain ways that I have plants that are situated certain ways or potted certain ways, or certain structures that are in my yard that I've refurbished, or even within the house the same. And you take that thing and you improve upon it. You could take any little material object, and rather than getting rid of it, tossing it out the window with the throwaway cancel culture that we have, you can improve upon it and make it better. But then the expansion of that idea is make it as good as you possibly can. And this is something that I came to when I was cooking in the kitchen. I was making a meal for my family. I was making it as good as I can, looking in the pantry for any relevant ingredients, digging through the fridge to search for any vegetables that may be close that I don't want to waste, or any additives that I could add to make the food more flavorful and aesthetically pleasing and delicious. Infuse it with love and attention and care for my young ones. And then I'm making my meal, and I'm just throwing something together, before I get to it, because I like to eat consciously. I think it's a very important thing to look at it, view the food, understand what it took, the farmers, the workers, the grocery store people to get it here, and then my work, my wife's hard work to get it here onto my plate. Acknowledge that, look at it, chew it slowly, respect it, and appreciate it. I don't always do that. That is my intent. But as I'm doing that this time, I go, well, hold up. You got avocados in the refrigerator. You got red onion. You could dice up some of that mango that the neighbor gave you, and make this a really nice meal. But I caught myself before that not doing that. I'm just going to have the basic, whatever. And in doing so, I'm not getting all the nutrition that I can have, that I could use. I'm wasting things in the refrigerator. Maybe they're going to go bad, or maybe they do, because if I don't use them in this meal, then I don't make a similar meal for a few days, then I lost the opportunity to use some of those things. So I started saying, no, man, don't treat everyone else great and treat yourself bad. Don't put all the extra effort into helping everyone else, but you're not putting the extra effort into yourself. No, make it as good as you can, man. Make it as good as you possibly can. Make it not only for everyone else, but for yourself. So you take the thing, you improve upon it, but then to expand that idea, make it as good as you possibly can. And that goes from the littlest thing in your life to your life itself. Make it as good as you possibly can make it, man. What else is there? Let's make this thing as good as we possibly can for the benefit of us and all. So part of that mental suffering that I was going through was because I didn't always feel useful. I didn't always feel purposeful. I didn't always feel like I was doing everything that I could possibly do, like I was just talking about. But a lot of times we place limitations upon ourselves that don't really exist. We put them there through various different ways, but we do it. If you believe that you can achieve anything, you can obtain anything, you can create anything, and you diligently do that work, then those things will happen. Those things will be done. So try not to put those limitations on yourself. Understand that you can take things, you can improve upon things, you can make it as good as you possibly can, and then maybe there's even room to improve from there. Once again, continuous improvement. And know your worth. They say know your worth all the time. Know your worth, know your worth. But where does your worth derive? Another self-reflection or self-analysis that can really be beneficial. What makes me feel of worth? To me, it's being useful. To me, it's being of service. Whenever I feel this discontent that I was speaking of, I go, well, how can I be useful? What's the most beneficial thing that I could be doing right now for my kids, for my wife, for my mom, for myself, for my household, for my community? And when you start to go down that line of thinking, watch how quickly you can improve your situation and other situation. How can I be of use? How can I be of service to myself and others? And that will take you far. We're rounding out 45 minutes. I want to remind you of one last thing. As you lay your head on that pillow, and I do this to myself sometimes because it's part of my process, and I believe it to be beneficial for all. Once again, going over the day. Where did I pass? Where did I fail? Where did I do great? Where did I do not so great? What can I change? What can I do better tomorrow? And a lot of times there's days where I didn't do so well. There's days where I ate more than I planned. There's days where I drank too many caffeinated beverages that I know are bad for my stomach. There's days where my action in the world wasn't enough. I had more. I could have gave it. I should be giving what I have. I should be leaving it all out on the playing field, because when I perish, I want to be content with what I did in this world. And when I go down that line of thinking, I can get very rough on myself. I can say mean and nasty things to myself, things that I would never allow anyone to ever say about me. But I say them to myself. And I have to remind myself, like I want to remind you, you are a good person. You are a good person. There is good in you, man. And nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes. So to sit here and beat yourself up over and over and over and over again about these mistakes, these shortcomings that you have, is taking energy away from you correcting those mistakes and becoming a better human being. You are a good person. Remember that always, and seek progress, not perfection. I love y'all.